Next, we have a question from Jack on It's a Word for jin, which means half kilo. It's kind of a common measurement here in China, but it is exactly half a kilo. So a gongjin is 1 kilogram. So he said, you may have already fixed this in the updated deck. The translation for the third sentence on the card says, it's not healthy to eat a half kilo of pork. And he's referring to the sentence, 吃一斤肉不健康. And I've made the change so that now they both say meat/pork. But the reason why I put this supposed content correction in the podcast is because 肉 by itself does sometimes mean pork in China, because I suspect that this is probably a result of the sort of changes that happened after the Cultural Revolution and the reform and opening up, the 改革开放, where China went from being a very, very poor country to, just certainly massively less poor. It's not that there's no poverty in China now, but it's just, way less of a problem than it used to be. But there was a long period of time where getting to eat any kind of meat was a luxury. You most of the time you're lucky to get some rice, right? And so if you got to eat any kind of meat, it was a luxury. And the cheapest, most mass-produced meat in China is pork. I think China's the #1 pork producer in the world. And so for a while, any kind of rou you were ever going to get was pork. Like, you would have to be rich to get beef or lamb or something like that, right? And so the vast majority of people just referred to rou as pork. And so as a result, if you don't specify the meat, then there's a good chance people are going to assume that what you mean is pork. Now, it obviously does create some confusion, because if you were supposed to say, if you just say rou, like, 我不吃肉, meaning like I don't eat meat, somebody might interpret that as I don't eat pork. As a matter of fact, in China, I think that might even be the main way that people interpret that, because vegetarianism and veganism in China aren't really like very popular. So the idea that you don't eat meat at all, it's not unheard of. Like, it's not like somebody would be like, I can't, what? But they would be a little bit surprised. And so if they heard you say, 我不吃肉, they might think that you mean, I just don't eat pork. But anyway, like, if you want to specify what meat it is, you need to add in the type of the animal first. So 牛肉. 牛 means cow. 牛肉 is beef. 羊 means sheep. 羊肉 means mutton or lamb. Well, actually not lamb, but mutton. And then you've got 猪肉. If you said 猪, which is a pig, 猪肉, then you're for sure talking about pork. Now he asked a follow-up question. He says, does I don't eat any type of meat equal 我不吃任何种肉? No, not exactly. First of all, 种 is a measure word, so like you wouldn't use it in that way. 任何 means any, but you don't actually have to use 任何 in many circumstances to say any, because there's the other way to say any is to use the question word plus 都. So 哪种肉都不吃, or 哪种肉都不吃. So if I say 哪种肉, 哪 means which, right? But if I say 哪种肉都不吃, or 什么肉都不吃, either of those mean I don't eat any meat, or any. In the first one, 哪种肉都不吃 is I don't eat any type of meat. So that would be clear. If you said 哪种肉都不吃, or 我哪种肉都不吃, then that makes it very clear to whoever you're talking to that all types of meat I don't eat, right? So it's kind of interesting how they'll do it. It's like when they say 哪种肉都不吃, it's like they're saying no matter which, all don't get eaten, right? So it's like, that's kind of cool how they'll do that. And 什么肉都不吃, that's another way to say, it's not what meat, right? It's 什么肉都. By having that 都 in there, you know that it's saying regardless of what, I don't eat any of it. So that's usually how you would say I don't eat any meat. 任何 will come up as a word for all, but it's actually less common than you'd think, because you get to use all of the question words to indicate all if you want. So, 哪个 means which. 哪个都 is like all of which. You know, 什么 is what. 什么都 is any, right? Or all of what, I guess you could say. And so forth, you know. 什么时候都, so when, anytime, right? So it goes from when to whenever, right? Anyway, so hopefully that clears that up there. Interesting thing about 肉. 谢谢你观看我们的这个视频. If you found this video valuable and you'd like us to help you reach fluency and literacy in Mandarin Chinese as fast as possible without all the headache of traditional learning methods, just head to mandarinblueprint.com to learn more. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell below to be notified every time we release a new video. And of course, 保重.